everyone, in this video we are going to test the Ninja XL oven's ability to cook frozen foods. The idea actually came from you guys. One of you guys suggested that the Ninja Foodie Grill advertises that it can cook from frozen, and this oven is basically the same technology. It should be able to do the same. And to be honest, I was blown away by the results. Since I had never cooked from frozen, I decided to ease myself into the process by trying out some country fried beef steaks. On the back they tell you to cook them in a convection oven at 450 degrees for 20 minutes, flipping halfway through until the internal temperature reaches 165 degrees Fahrenheit. In the packet you get 5 beef patties and 5 gravy packets. I decided to cook just one for myself and heat up the gravy packet in the microwave. I allowed the oven to preheat for a good amount of time and then put my patty in. Actually, the Instant Omni air fryer basket. I still had the Instant Omni at this time and I hadn't received my Ninja air fryer basket for the new oven yet. After about 5 minutes had elapsed, I decided to also add some zucchini fries and some jalapeno poppers. I checked the temperature at 10 minutes and the patty was definitely above the desired temperature, so I decided to pull out some of the jalapeno poppers and the patty. The jalapeno poppers looked very done on the outside, but inside they were still frozen, and the patty, even though it looked done, it was a little bit floppy and a lot soggy on the underside. So back it went into the oven with the soggy side up this time for another 5 minutes. By the end of it, this was my meal. The zucchini fries and the jalapeno poppers were definitely done. Zucchini fries were as floppy as they usually are, but I was kind of unimpressed with the crispiness of the patty. It was still kind of soggy, to be honest, but it tasted delicious. So I decided to repeat the experiment the next day in the old Ninja oven, this time using the air fryer basket only without the tray underneath, because one of you had suggested that that could kind of obstruct the airflow. And I have to say the results were kind of similar. It wasn't very different. The broccoli that I put around the patty this time was nicely crisp, but the patty itself was kind of soggy, and I decided to move on and try some salmon. Now, of course, these salmon fillets were straight out of the freezer, frozen rock hard, so I couldn't descale them. I decided to cook them just like that. The fillets were sprayed with tiny bit of olive oil. Salt and ground black pepper was sprinkled on top. The Ninja booklet asks you to cook salmon fillets on air fryer at 400 degrees for 13 to 18 minutes, but of course that is not meant for frozen fish. So I set my oven on air roast at 450 degrees and after preheating allowed the fish to cook for 15 minutes on that. At this time I switched to the air fryer mode, lowered the temperature to 400 degrees Fahrenheit and inserted a temperature thermometer into the fish set for final internal temperature of 130 degrees Fahrenheit. After 10 minutes the salmon was already looking beautiful and was bubbling away at the bottom in its own oils, but the core temperature of the fish was still at about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So I added a little bit more time to the oven and in about 4 minutes or so the internal temperature was reached. The salmon looked like something you would find at a high-end restaurant and was cooked to perfection. Even the skin was beautifully crispy. It was a shame that the scales were still on and I couldn't eat it, but this is definitely going to be my way of cooking salmon from now on. After descaling, of course, because I love the skin. All in all, this took about 2 minutes of prep time and 29 minutes of cooking. 15 minutes on the air roast mode at 450 and 14 minutes on the air fryer mode at 400. Next, I tried cooking some frozen chicken breasts. This was something I was worried about the most. I in general hate the breast meat because of its tendency to become too tough and dry, and cooking it from frozen, yes, I was dreading it, but what the heck? As I'm editing this, I can see that this Tyson breast contains rib meat and salt. Anyways, I coated the roasting tray with some olive oil. I sprinkled salt and pepper and sprayed olive oil on both sides of the chicken breast strips, loaded the tray in the oven and started it on air fryer mode at 450 degrees for the initial 5 minutes. The package directions for the chicken ask you to bake them at 375 for 40 minutes and look for internal temperature of 170 degrees Fahrenheit, which seemed a little bit too high. So I inserted my thermometer probe into one of the strips and set it for 158 as the final temperature. I changed the oven temperature to 375 and started it for 40 minutes. After a couple of minutes, I basted the top of the chicken strips with 1 tablespoon of First Street sweet and spicy barbecue sauce each and let it cook away. The internal temperature of the chicken reached 170 degrees in just 15 minutes, at which point I pulled it out and tried to cook some homemade zucchini noodles in the drippings in the bottom pan in the oven itself, which wasn't working out. So I switched to the stovetop and a hex-clad pan, and this was my dinner that night. The chicken was cooked thoroughly. I of course didn't like like the chewiness of the breast, but it was cooked nonetheless. But these definitely cooked way faster than even the package directions and directly from frozen. And finally, I decided to try the most difficult thing of this experiment and the thing that we saw in the Ninja Grill advert in the very beginning. Frozen chicken legs on the bone. So here they are, frozen solid from the commercial freezer, minus the time it took to check out and come home. I coated them with olive oil, salt and pepper, and I started them on the air roast mode for 5 minutes, just like the breast strips. At the end of that, I was kind of able to shove the thermometer probe into one of the legs. I switched to air fryer mode and started at 400 Fahrenheit for 10 minutes. The chicken was so cold that the thermometer didn't even record any temperature for the initial 7 minutes, and you'll see me fiddling with the thermometer here because I couldn't tell if the thermometer was working or not. After the 10 minutes, I basted the chicken with the same First Street barbecue sauce. I lowered the temperature to 375 and started the oven for another 10 minutes, and then I added another 5 minutes. The internal temperature of 165 was reached with about 2 minutes to spare, which is at about 28 minutes. This was already 3 minutes over what the Ninja Grill advertisement said. Anyways, I pulled the chicken out. It looked beautiful, but when I cut into it, it still looked pink at the bone, and the juices were running pink as well, which makes me very uncomfortable. So back it went into the oven for another 5 minutes of air frying. I also chose to add more barbecue sauce at this time and ended up flipping the chicken upside down in the process. And then finally it was cooked to where I could eat it. It was still a tiny bit pink in some spots, and I decided to cook it for 5 more minutes, so a total of 38 minutes for it to be completely done, where I was comfortable feeding it to my kids. The cook was very good, the chicken was evenly cooked, and it was not dry at all. So overall, I think either the Ninja Grill cooks a little differently than the XL oven, or what they show in the ad is not true and you need longer cooking times, which is very, very possible. But in a pinch, I think the Ninja XL oven can definitely cook directly from frozen, and in fact that is how I will be cooking my salmon from now on because it was so delicious. When it comes to chicken, the breast will cook in about 25 minutes and the drumsticks will need about 40 minutes to cook fully. From my experience, I would say definitely use the roasting rack if you're going to cook any of the meats because it kind of promotes getting the underside a little bit crispy as well, and a probe thermometer is a must to ensure that the meats are fully cooked. If you're going to use the Ninja oven this way on a regular basis, I think it might be worth spending the additional $30 or so to get the DT251 model, which comes with a built-in temperature probe, and you don't have to keep on checking and adding time to the cooking. Anyways, let me know in the comments below if you do cook your meats from frozen or just postpone your plans like I do usually. Have you been using a Ninja oven to cook from frozen, or will you be trying it after watching this video? And definitely let me know what your experience has been. If you like this video or find it useful, don't forget to share it, give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed yet, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!